And theorizing that have been happening for many years regarding the supposed existence of rogue planets that are believed to be orbiting in a retrograde movement within our solar system, I thought it would be appropriate at this time to provide you with a scientific case for the presence of a system of planets that are not actually part of our solar system, but which is a system of its own that makes a repeated and unwelcome appearance into our celestial neighborhood every few thousand years. In some of my previous videos, I have attempted to outline a hypothesis based on what is considered by the scientific community as factual evidence to explain why the Earth is suddenly experiencing such violent disruptions with regard to climate change, Earth changes, atmospheric disturbances, and weather-related disasters. I'm sure that most of you will agree that the Earth is experiencing changes that you would never have thought possible in your lifetime. However, we tend to differ in the interpretation of these events as to why they are happening on such a grand scale and what exactly is the cause of these great changes. So let's take a look at some things you may find both astonishing and disturbing at the same time that may very well explain why our solar system is out of sync and why the planets that comprise our solar system, including our own, are behaving in peculiar and unpredictable ways. Prior to the discovery of each new planet in our outer regions of the solar system came the detection of anomalies in the erratic motions of the outermost known planet. Pluto was discovered basically by chance by the self-taught astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in 1930. We used to call it a planet. However, it has recently been reclassified as the first discovered of a large number of bodies orbiting generally outside the planetary zone, in a region we call the Kuiper Belt. Pluto's properties are very different from the terrestrial and giant planets and appear to be representative of other Kuiper Belt objects. You may be surprised to know that it takes 248 years for Pluto to orbit the Sun because of its considerable distance from our star, and the fact that it also takes 8 hours for sunlight to reach the dwarf planet. But Pluto's orbit is peculiar in other ways as well. It is more inclined when compared to the rest of the solar system planets, which have orbits lying nearly in the same plane. Even before Neptune was discovered in 1846, astronomers had been theorizing as far back as 1781 that the irregular movement of Uranus was caused by the presence of another undiscovered planet. And as it turned out, that was the case when Neptune was first sighted and identified. The planet Pluto, now downgraded to dwarf status, and its later discovered moon, Charon, were then used to explain the observed wobbles in Uranus and Neptune's respective orbits. So what we can determine from what I have explained about these outer entities is that errors were originally made in calculating their precise position that later on resulted in the confirmation of cause as determined by these newly discovered planets. Okay, so that may sound a little complicated, but the bottom line here in helping us determine what is happening today in our solar system is that more likely than not, there are other larger planets as well as dwarf planets that are part of our solar system, or that periodically visit our solar system, that are presently out there waiting to be found. as well as existing anomalies that are waiting to be explained. In 1940, Chilean astronomer Carlos Muñoz Ferrara, who is considered by many as one of the most brilliant astronomers in the world, accurately predicted that the elite would attempt to cover up Planet X as it heads towards the Earth. Ferrara referred to Nibiru Planet X as a comet planet because it has the size of a planet but speed and elliptical orbit of a comet. So here then is what Carlos Ferrara was telling us.
Algo muy interesante es que usted hizo un estudio y trazó con cálculos y con todo la órbita de este cometa planeta. Porque usted nos habla y nos dice que es cometa planeta porque su movimiento no es algo normal. No, que tiene unas velocidades.
Es un cometa planeta porque tiene órbita elíptica como cometa y porque tiene gran masa
Como planeta.
como planeta. Yo lo llamo entonces planeta cometa, o sea, un planeta con cola. El gran campo gravitacional que trae ese astro nuevo, que hace 13.000 años que no penetró y que 13.000 años atrás fue en los tiempos de Atlántida perdida, tiene resonancia y efectos que a los reflejos, que a la debilidad, queda el gran cambio.
Ese gran cambio, el cual usted viene estudiando desde 1940, ¿verdad? Que viene estudiando ese astro. Van 59 años de documentación. Ese gran cambio es humano, además es a la Tierra, porque indica un cambio de polos.
Es geofísico y humano.
Geofísico y humano. Y se habla de que va a haber un cambio de los polos magnéticos de la Tierra.
Son tantas las cosas que lamentable la humanidad no está preparada. El cambio viene. La destrucción viene. Y, más que nada, afectará a la humanidad en su existencia, en su producción, en su subsistencia misma.
The most controversial, supposedly undiscovered planet within our solar system, dubbed Nibiru, or Planet X, became well known in 1976 by noted researcher Zecharia Sitchin in his best-selling book, The 12th Planet. As one of few scholars able to read and interpret Sumerian clay tablets, Sitchin utilized those ancient texts to make a highly plausible case for the existence of Planet X, known as the Destroyer in ancient scripts, which comes close to planet Earth every 3,600 years. The Sumerians lived over 6,000 years ago in what is today Iraq. They are credited as the first known civilization on Earth, inventing mathematics, astronomy, and astrology. The sun in our solar system is similar to 90% of the solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy, all part of a binary star system containing two or more suns. The Planet X system can be considered a mini-constellation consisting of our sun's twin, classified a brown dwarf star called Nemesis. This dark star is largely invisible, even with infrared, due to its surrounding red iron oxide dust clouds. Nemesis possesses at least 3 planets that revolve around it, Nibiru and Helion, both with moons, and Arbota. Though Nibiru travels along an elliptical-shaped orbit and enters our solar system approximately every 3,600 years, one by one crossing the orbits of our solar system planets, it does not revolve around our sun. In one of our previous videos, The Truth About Planet X, Connecting the Dots, I provided a 1990 video clip in which Zecharia Sitchin interviewed the supervising astronomer of the U.S. Naval Observatory, Robert S. Harrington, to discuss Harrington's recent discovery of the red planet X. Harrington set up a special telescopic observatory in New Zealand to track planet X. But the renowned head of the observatory suddenly died mysteriously at age 50 of a rare form of cancer under suspicious circumstances. Even so, 2 years after the Sitchin-Harrington interview, and just months prior to Harrington's 1993 death, a NASA press release was still publicly embracing Nibiru Planet X as being real. Unexplained deviations in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune point to a large outer solar system body of 4 to 8 Earth masses on a highly tilted orbit beyond 7 billion miles from the Sun. Also in 1992, a confident NASA scientist named Ray T. Reynolds went on record proclaiming, "Astronomers are so sure of the 10th planet, they think there is nothing left but to name it." But ever since Harrington's untimely death, with few exceptions, the lid has been tightly sealed on any more accurate information released by mainstream sources directly to the public. Apparently, the U.S. government had made the decision to keep Nibiru and its projected earthly destruction under wraps. In recent years, the feds have sent out trolls to disseminate disinformation and false propaganda in attempts to debunk any would-be truth-tellers. The elite ensure that hired shills are planted to busily churn out concentrated disinfo campaigns, smearing lies to prevent the story that never quite goes away from ever having full disclosure. False flag predictions of past non-event disasters are most common, like last year's predicted May 28th San Andreas earthquake, deliberately timed with the opening of the film of the same name, or the 2012 Mayan calendar doomsday non-event, or the May 5th 2000 ice age that never came. And who can forget the Y2K fiasco? And so it goes. The more of these end days predictions that are proven to be false, the more chance that any legitimate warnings of Planet X will be ultimately ridiculed and ignored. The boy who cried wolf syndrome effectively desensitizes the human population into doubting any actual evidence or truth about Nibiru, and so it will never be taken seriously by any reasonably sane person, notwithstanding the aluminum foil hat crowd of conspiracy realists who are more often right than wrong these days when it comes to exposing the myriad of government cover-ups, false flags, and lies. The effects of such a large celestial body as Nibiru, Planet X, estimated to be from 4 to 8 times the size of the Earth, re-entering our solar system, has generated an off-the-chart internet frenzy on social media sites in recent times, convinced it will cause enormous amounts of huge-sized space debris from an asteroid belt, potential comets, one recently cited to be 2.5 miles wide, and countless meteors plummeting violently to the Earth. It's believed that the impact of such giant objects crashing into the Earth will push the reset button for another axis tilt, likely causing yet another mass extinction and radically altering global climate zones, raising sea levels dramatically to reshape coastlines worldwide, decreasing landmass and increasing oceanic water surface. In addition to tilting the Earth's axis, it's speculated that Nibiru's gravitational upset and electromagnetic fireworks on our planet will set off mammoth cracks in the tectonic plates, resulting in never-before-seen killer quakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, tidal waves, hurricanes, record winds, massive flooding, and tornadoes. Rather than delving into the mythology and the prophecy surrounding Planet X, this presentation will limit its focus to reviewing the most tangible, credible pieces of scientific evidence supported by astronomers and astrophysicists who in recent years have risked destroying their careers, their reputations, and their very lives promoting their controversial findings and conclusions. This year, more than ever, the movement's growing authenticity of the Planet X story is in fact gathering momentum and garnering support from some rather high-profile notables within the scientific community. This presentation will chronicle the growing body of empirical evidence validating not only Planet X's existence, but its eminent approach towards Earth. The highly controversial Planet X system entering our solar system with potential catastrophic implications was first featured in a Washington Post article back in 1983. NASA's Infrared Astronomical Telescope found the mysterious planet, possibly as large as Jupiter, near the constellation of Orion. Now, some 33 years ago, it was considered to be the closest heavenly body to the Earth beyond Pluto. Researcher activist John Moore has long asserted that a number of his inside ex-military and government intelligence sources have independently confirmed that a top-secret meeting took place in 1979 in a New Orleans briefing room, where highest-ranking U.S. naval flag officers were first informed of the coming inevitable Planet X disaster that would occur within their lifetime. In October 2003, a highly significant and telling Department of Defense-sponsored government paper was published called An Abrupt Climate Change Scenario and Its Implications for United States National Security. This paper notes that oceanic saline levels were dropping, causing thermohaline circulation collapse. A serious disruption of the Atlantic conveyor belt that pushes warm salt water near the surface circulating northward from the south, while deeper cooler water flows southward, would have a devastating impact on global climate. The paper concludes with the following sobering predictions: wars over energy, food and water resources, increasing drought over wider landmass, and violent climate change effects producing more frequent, higher magnitude natural catastrophes of all kinds. A dozen years later, all of these most disturbing developments are clearly manifesting. Of course, the current standard politically correct scientific dogma is that global warming, aka climate change, emanating from CO2 greenhouse gases, is the obvious culprit. This mass deception is designed to conveniently obscure the multiple dire effects caused by many decades of the globalists' geoengineering, HARP, weather modification, and weather wars, not to mention the hidden, non-existent Planet X system hurtling towards us deeper inside our solar system that's likely causing tremendous changes at the surface of all our solar system planets, of course including our own Earth's atmosphere and global surface. In March 2010, the mainstream UK newspaper, The Telegraph, ran a story entitled "Search On for Death Star That Throws Out Deadly Comets." The subheadline announced that NASA is looking for the twin sun, that's the brown dwarf star Nemesis, slowly circling our sun and periodically catapulting deadly comets to the Earth. So as quiet as NASA has been over the years, little bits of information reflecting the notion that they are still searching for the cataclysmic Planet X system manages to seep through to the public every now and then from so-called reputable news sources. The article goes on to state that the star that's 5 times the size of Jupiter is the prime suspect that wiped out the dinosaur 65 million years ago, as the following video suggests.
Earth is believed to have undergone 5 official mass extinctions thus far, and one retired astrophysics professor thinks he knows what could have caused them. In a recently published study, Daniel Whitmire argues that presently undiscovered Planet X is responsible for an onslaught of comets colliding into Earth every 27 million years or so, and destroying life, including the dinosaurs. In 1985, Whitmire released his first paper on this 9th planet, which theoretically exists along the outer bounds of our solar system. He and his co-author, John Matisse, reasoned that the orbit of Planet X takes it through the Kuiper Belt in 27 million year intervals, and objects get pushed to the inner solar system as a result. In his current research, Whitmire links these events with mass extinctions on Earth based on updated records of comet showers over the past 500 million years. Despite his argument, a Discovery News article on this topic expresses some skepticism. The writer Ian O'Neill wonders, for instance, if these bombardment events are necessarily caused by Planet X rather than other forces.
The NASA Wide Field Infrared Survey Explorer was capable of detecting the faint heat emanating from the dwarf star 25 times the distance between Earth and the Sun, or 1/3 a light year away. Launched in January 2009, WISE discovered at least 1,000 dwarf stars located within 25 light years from the Sun until October of 2010, when its coolant was scheduled to run out. With the Planet X system entering our solar system, its gravitational force is believed to launch trajectories of comets and asteroids that are large-sized space debris objects of icy rocks and dust that bombard our solar system planets, including the Earth. Professor John Matisse of the University of Louisiana Lafayette believes that the nemesis that includes planet Nibiru as part of the Planet X system is mainly responsible for supplying such a concentrated volley of comets from the Oort cloud into our inner solar system. In May 2012, LiveScience.com and Examiner.com, shown in this video slideshow, both featured headline stories heralding the probable discovery of Planet X. Astronomer Rodney Gomez of Rio's National Observatory of Brazil had just presented new evidence of the mysterious planet at a meeting of the American Astronomical Society. Gomez demonstrated that icy objects outside Neptune's orbit in the Oort cloud, displaying irregular movement that cannot be explained by known mathematical laws of astrophysics, but can be explained by the gravitational influence of so-called Planet X. In addition, the dwarf planet Sedna's peculiar orbit can also only be accounted for by the presence of a large unknown planet. Gomez's findings were very well received by his peers, believing that he got his math correct. But of course, not wanting to endorse Planet X completely, they quelled their enthusiasm with a call for more research and posing alternative theories that may not involve another large planet. In November of 2014, IFLScience.com reported evidence that 2 new undiscovered planets may be lurking in our solar system. A January 2015 article from Space.com also addressed the possibility of 2 more planets beyond Neptune and Pluto moving in the outer limits of our solar system and subtly influencing the orbits of the dwarf planets. Carlos de la Fuente of Madrid's University of Complutense stated, "This excess of objects with unexpected orbital parameters would have us believe that some invisible forces are altering the distribution of the orbital elements of the extreme trans-Neptunian objects. And we consider that the most probable explanation is that other unknown planets exist beyond Neptune and Pluto." In March 2014, another team of astronomers, Chadwick Trujillo and Scott Shepard, announced the discovery of 2012 VP113, another ET-NO joining Sedna as two known members of the inner Oort cloud, which is the comet-filled sphere that lies just beyond the Kuiper belt and Pluto. Trujillo and Shepard claim these two objects' orbits comply with the gravitational presence of a big disturber, which is up to 10 times the mass of the Earth. Major unheard-of changes are currently appearing on the surface and atmosphere of the Sun and all the planets. Astronomer Mike Lockwood from California's Rutherford Appleton National Laboratories found that since 1901, the Sun's overall magnetic field has increased by 230%. Solar flares and storms have also increased. The Earth's moon now has a 6,000-kilometer deep atmosphere of natrium that it never had before. Mercury, the planet closest to the Sun, now has grown polar ice. Venus's brightness has skyrocketed by 2,500% and experienced major changes in its atmosphere in the last 4 decades. Meanwhile, further away from the Sun than the Earth, Mars has melted polar ice caps, and its magnitude of storms has strengthened exponentially. Jupiter has had the brightness of its plasma clouds increase 200%, accompanied by a pattern of intermittent thickening, then weakening. The largest planet in our solar system's enormous belts have been changing color with radiation levels erratically waning and then flaring up again. An increase in asteroid and comet activity on Jupiter is likely from Nibiru's entrance into our solar system. During the last 3 decades, the jet stream on Saturn's equator has slowed in velocity, while X-rays at the equator have spiked. Uranus has become brighter with a huge flare-up of storm activity, when its surface before was always placid. Neptune has also increased in brightness by 40%. The atmospheric pressure on Pluto has jumped up by 300%, despite it moving further from the Sun. The glowing plasma on the edge of our solar system has increased 1,000%. The profound changes being measured in space are unprecedented. An increase in energy emissions is changing the fundamental structure of all matter throughout our solar system. Taken together, these massive across-the-board changes most likely are all the result of Planet X moving through our solar system. Changes on the Earth have been pronounced as well, most notably with electromagnetic changes, yearly incremental polar axis changes, and extreme weather changes. As an example, North Pole, Alaska, recently saw its late spring temperatures soar to a high of 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Between 1963 and 2009, the frequency of natural disasters globally has leaped up by 410%. And in more recent years, the rate of disasters has soared even higher. With an increasing number of volcanic eruptions along the Pacific Ring of Fire, and earthquakes felt globally, particularly along the San Andreas and the New Madrid fault lines, major volcanic and earthquake activity is rapidly on the rise. As early as November 2013, 10 different long-dormant volcanoes went active, first suggesting Planet X's presence. The rate of volcanic eruptions between 1875 and 2010 has increased nearly 500%, but even greater now. A substantial increase in 3.0 or higher earthquakes are shaking America's heartland due to fracking. In Oklahoma alone, going from 2 or 3 a year prior to fracking to 562 last year alone. Since 1973, earthquakes have risen worldwide by 400%. 6.0 magnitude earthquakes or greater has also spiked in recent years, jumping on average from 108.5 earthquakes per year in the 1980 to 89 decade to 160.9 earthquakes per year from 2000 to 2009, increasing by 38.9%. In the first quarter of 2014 alone, more than twice as many large earthquakes occurred than on average since 1979. Last year, scientists at the European Science Foundation warned that in the years to come, there is a 5 to 10% chance that a colossal-sized volcano could send the Earth back to pre-civilization status. A significant rise in landslides and floods have also been measured. For the last 2,000 years, the Earth's magnetic field has been decreasing gradually. But in the last 500 years, that decrease has become much more dramatic. Scientists have been shocked at the alarming rate that the Earth's magnetosphere has been disappearing. The planet's natural shield preventing solar winds and radiation from reaching the Earth's surface is being lost. This disturbing discovery comes while solar storm activity continues. These solar blasts seriously threaten to interfere with satellite and GPS communications, and risk bursts of electromagnetic pulses, if not launched by EMP weapons in the wrong hands like ICES, that could be lethal to America's power grid, quickly placing millions of people in the dark without any source of electricity for months or even years at a time. Effects from a diminishing magnetic field would double the amount of radiation, causing an epidemic of skin cancer deaths, speed up climate change, and magnify extreme weather. Solar winds would eliminate ions that allow the Earth to retain water and air. All these horrific changes are happening right now. This torrid rate of ecological degradation and life-threatening Earth surface changes are more than likely caused by Planet X racing ever closer toward us. Another rather peculiar development to the Planet X story has been Google Sky's strange actions. Several years ago, no doubt in keeping with the media blackout, Google actually did black out the grid in the sky to ensure that Planet X was eliminated from its sky map. Then about a year ago, Google Sky mysteriously reinserted the missing grid, fully depicting the flaming winged Nibiru. So it has now been visible from both the actual sky and the Google Sky this year. More evidence that the tide is turning toward the truth about Planet X. Just last month, the European Space Agency invited scientists from around the world to a conference in Prague to discuss the topic of an Earth observation strategy and its relevance to societal and economic changes that will occur. Of special interest in this particular symposium is that hazards to the Earth was the key theme of this meeting. In other words, drastic changes to the planet in the way of earthquakes, volcanoes, and floods, but also significant changes to the atmosphere, the cryosphere, and to the oceans. Does this symposium sound familiar to the Nibiru cataclysm scenario, minus the forbidden planet, of course? So now you have been provided with but a few of the more relevant scientific findings, which establish an acceptable hypothesis for the existence of a rogue system of planets, a mini constellation with its own star, a binary companion to our own sun, now hurtling through space within the confines of our solar system. Of course, you can easily dismiss these findings as nothing more than pseudoscience, if that is your belief. But if you take the time to examine the evidence that is provided, you will come to a clearer understanding of the changes that are happening to our planet, why they are happening so quickly and in such great numbers, and what is the mechanism by which these events are taking place within our solar system and here on planet Earth. The changes that are suddenly occurring on the planet may seem extraordinary to some of you, but the events that are unfolding today are the same events that happened thousands of years ago to ancient civilizations, as the destroyer of generations makes its presence known.